Hello and welcome to Byju's IAS. Let's get started and look into our daily quiz. Let's look into the first question. Consider the following statements. The Chenab is the largest tributary of the Indus. The Bari Doab lies between the Ravi and the Chenab rivers. Which of the above statements are correct? The answer to this is one only. Why have we taken this practice question? Because this article here makes a mention of Indus River. When we look into the option, yes, the first statement is right. The Chenab happens to be the largest tributary of the Indus. But when it comes to the second statement, the Bari Doab lies between the Ravi and the Beas River, but it is not Chenab River. Now the question is, what is this Doab? Let's say there is one of the rivers. There is another river as well. They meet at a confluence point. They meet at one particular point. The region between it is what is called as Doab. So when it comes to the Bari Doab, it lies between Ravi and Beas and not between Ravi and Chenab rivers. There are other Doabs as well. Let's take for example, we have the Jej Doab. The Jej Doab lies between Jhelum and Chenab. Then we have Rechna Doab. It lies between Chenab and Ravi. Then we have Bari Doab as we have just discussed. And finally, what we have is the Bis Doab, which lies between Beas and Sutlej. When we look into this article, it says Chinese protest against Dalai Lama's birthday celebration. Who is Dalai Lama? Dalai Lama happens to be a spiritual leader from where? From Tibet. Tibet was occupied by China. They have suppressed the religious freedom in this particular place, and as a result, back during the 1950s, Dalai Lama has entered India. So Dalai Lama is one of the spiritual leaders from Tibet. Whenever there is celebration of Dalai Lama's birthday, it is seen as a political tool. It is seen as a trump card for India, and that is why China starts opposing the birthday celebrations when it comes to Dalai Lama. Now let's look into the next practice question. With reference to Kesariya Stupa, which of the following statements are correct? It is a Buddhist stupa in the state of Sikkim. It is regarded as the largest Buddhist stupa in the world. Which of the statements are correct? The answer to this is two only. Why? That is because when you look into this particular Kesariya Stupa, it is not in the state of Sikkim, but instead it is located in Kesariya, where this happens to be one of the place in Champaran district of Bihar. And when it comes to the second statement, yes, the stupa is said to be the tallest and the largest Buddhist stupa in the world, and it is 1 feet taller than the famous Borobudur stupa in Java. And this particular stupa dates back to the time of Emperor Ashoka, where the remains of Ashokan pillar was discovered in this particular place. So in ancient times, Kesariya was under the rule of Mauryas as well as Lichavis. Why have we taken this practice question? Because this article here makes a mention of Bihar's Kesariya Buddha Stupa. Now let's look into the next practice question. Which of the following statements about Hawa Mahal are correct? It was built by Maharaja Savai Pratap Singh. Mr. Lalchand Usta was the architect of this building. Which of the statements are correct? The answer to this is both. Yes, Hawa Mahal was built by Maharaja Savai Pratap Singh, and the architect of this particular architecture happens to be Mr. Lalchand Usta. Why have we taken this practice question? Because this article here makes a mention of Hawa Mahal. Now let's look into the next practice question. Consider the following statements about Lok Adalat. It can deal with cases pending before a court and also with disputes at pre-litigation stage. It is one of the components of alternative dispute resolution system. Lok Adalat shall have no jurisdiction in respect of matters relating to divorce or matters relating to an offence not compoundable under any law. Which of the above statements are correct? The answer to this is 1, 2 and 3. All the statements given here is right about Lok Adalat. When it comes to the first statement, those cases which are not only in the courts, even those cases which are in the pre-litigation stages, which means which have not entered into the court of law, can be dealt by the Lok Adalat. The second statement is also right. It is one forms of the alternative dispute resolution, where the other forms can be mediation, arbitration, conciliation as well. And when it comes to the third statement, it is once again right, as Lok Adalat would not be able to take up those type of cases which are not compoundable in nature, which means there are two types of offenses. One is what is called as the compoundable offense. The other is what is called as the non-compoundable offense. What is this compoundable offense? Let's say, for example, there is one of the crimes or an illegal act that is committed, but there are two parties when it comes to a crime. One is a complainant or the victim, the other person is an accused. If the complainant or the victim is ready to enter into a compromise with that of the accused, that is what is called as compoundable offense. So kindly note, such a compoundable offense where compromise can be done is only for petty cases, but this cannot be done for the serious cases. Let's take one of the examples. Let's say there is one of the thief. He enters a house. He robs about, let's say, about 1,000 rupees. So this particular person has done an illegal act. The police have also caught him as well. Does he have to go through the procedure? Yes, he has to go to the procedure, and then there will be penal provisions which will be enforced on him as well. Now, if the complainant or who's the person who's lost the money, if he's ready to enter into a compromise where this particular thief says that he'll pay back this 1,000 and he may also pay other damages as well, in such a case a compromise is reached. So such cases is what is called as compoundable nature offenses. So a compoundable offense is one where a complainant can agree to take back the charges levied against the accused on paying some damages, or there is a compromise between both the parties. Why have we taken this practice question? Because this article here makes a mention of Lok Adalat. Now let's look into the next practice question. Which of the following best describe the aim of Green India mission of the Government of India? Incorporating environmental benefits and costs into the union and state budgets, thereby implementing the green accounting, launching the second green revolution to enhance agricultural output so as to ensure food security to one and all in the future, restoring and enhancing forest cover, and responding to climate change by a combination of adaptation and mitigation measures. Select the correct answer using the code given below. The answer to this is 3 only. Why? That is because when it comes to Green India Mission, this was launched in the year 2014. This happens to be one of the missions under the National Action Plan on Climate Change, where the objective is to make use of all the technologies so that we can minimize the impact of the climate change. This happens to be a previous year question from the year 2016. Now let's look into the fact of the day. The fact of the day for today's discussion is Global Education Coalition. So this is mentioned in this article, which is an initiative of the UNESCO. What does it do? It is a platform where multiple collaborators come together to ensure that education is provided to every single student world over during the crisis of COVID-19. So basically, every person has the right to education. This should not be stopped during the COVID-19. So an initiative under the UNESCO where multiple people, that is the civil society, the academia, the private sector, all come together so that they can enhance on providing education to multiple sections of the society. So this particular coalition basically works on three important parameters. One is providing connectivity, where internet penetration will have to be provided. Then it speaks about teachers. As of now, there are constraints to the teachers. They would not be able to teach to the children. So providing connectivity and all the tools to the teachers is the second major objective. And the third is to respect the gender as well. Irrespective of who is getting educated, an emphasis is also given to the women in this particular issue. So basically, this is one of the initiatives taken by UNESCO where we have all the sections of the society coming together to ensure that the education is not stopped for different sections of the society. So the coalition basically aims to help countries in mobilizing all the resources, implementing innovative and context appropriate solutions to provide education remotely to all sections of the society. It wants to provide equitable solutions and universal access to education, ensure coordinated response and avoid overlapping efforts, and ultimately make sure that the minute there is opening up of the schools, all the students return to the schools and ultimately the dropout rates will have to be reduced is the intention or the objective of this particular program. So the Global Education Coalition is a coalition of multiple parties basically to prevent the dropout ratio when it comes to the education. And one such experiment is being undertaken by UNESCO along with the efforts of UBA. What is happening? As we all know, during the COVID-19 times, infrastructure was not present, but teachers were able to support the very idea of education with whatever limited tools that they had under their disposal. To support the teachers, what has Uber done? Uber has provided them the connectivity. How connectivity? Majority of the teachers who are living in the remote areas or in places, they are not able to go to the particular vaccination center. So in this particular case, what has Uber done? It has selected some of the cities like Chennai, Coimbatore and Tiruchirappalli in Tamil Nadu, where it has accommodated free rides to all these teachers. So from their homes, they have been taken to the vaccination centers and they were getting vaccinated, and ultimately they were pushed back to their homes as well. So the to and the fro movement from their homes to the vaccination centers was delivered free of cost by Uber, so that they can take part in the enhancement process of delivering education to the students as well. So basically, if we have to consider the public transport system, the teachers were apprehensive that if they travel by the public transport system, where they could catch the COVID-19, and as a result, to prevent this private movement was taken up by Uber along with the support of UNESCO. It is this that we have to understand in reference to this article. So this is it for today. Thank you for watching. All the best.